Good morning, afternoon, whatever it may be. Happy Monday, everybody. What's going on? It's episode number 29 of Flames Cast here. It's myself, Kyle, as usual. Neil will be popping in fairly shortly here. He's just running into some issues, but we'll give him some time. I have to start soon because somebody gets the lucky opportunity of driving to downtown Toronto tonight, which, as you can tell, I'm very excited for. Um, Not looking forward to it. It's going to be terrible because we're going to be going downtown right at rush hour, which is beautiful. And if any of you out there have experienced downtown Toronto traffic, the simple answer is please don't. It's not a good time. And just in time as well is our very good friend Neil.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. How you been?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. Pretty solid weekend. I ended up at the Devils game on Saturday night. So shout out to Game Time for helping me out with that. And yeah, no, just a really good weekend. Can't complain. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. I was just saying that I'm recording now. Just I have to go down to downtown Toronto tonight, which is not going to be fun.
Ooh, what
So,
for?
hospital. Yeah, appointment. Have to go
Oh,
down. Well, so we're like 2-3 hours away from Toronto, so we have to go down for we have an appointment tomorrow morning, and so it's like, luckily enough, like we get to go down, we booked a hotel and everything, but like everything gets reimbursed, which is nice.
right.
So yeah, that'll be fun. What else is fun too is my entire screen looks to be frozen. Ah, there we
Oh,
go.
there you go.
My
You
whole,
fixed it
my whole
up.
screen was frozen the whole
I
time.
thought that was just on my end.
No,
Which I
no,
was
no.
like, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I guess people heard you. That's all that
Good.
matters.
Exactly. The
Yeah,
audio is all that matters.
the audio is all
Um,
that matters.
yeah, so that'll be fun. That's why I didn't want to rush, but I was like, I gotta head out the door in
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
hour.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but I figured I had time to do this anyway today, so I figured we'd get right into it. Well, not really a good football weekend outside of last night, but thought I'd mention
Yeah,
that.
one game so far
One game.
in this wild card that's actually been interesting. Other than
Yeah.
that, it's been pretty mediocre
I hope
to say the
tonight's
least.
just good. I just want it to be a good game.
That's the hope. That's the hope. I mean, it's the only game on the docket. So hopefully we get a
Yeah.
good. We I'd like to see them finish the wild card weekend ish
On a high.
on a high. Exactly.
Cool.
I just noticed we only have 3 games in the NHL today, with one of them being obviously our Calgary Flames against Chicago,
Big
which is
news as well
interesting.
today too, as well from the Flames, which we'll get into.
Yes.
We'll get into Saturday's game. We'll get into a preview for tonight. Bit of news as well too, milestones, and then also big news for the Flames going into tonight's game, which we'll get into. You want to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So I don't know if you watched Saturday's game, but I did, and
Oh,
man,
I actually did watch Saturday's game.
it was such a roller coaster of like the FUs, F bombs went wild, and then at the end of the night, it was like, oh, all right, they won.
Right.
So, I mean, it all
Typical
kind of
Flames game right there.
it's very typical game, 100%, and really, it all started with the first period. I think that kind of sums up the
Sure.
entire game.
Yeah.
Total shots on goal were 17-4 for the LA Kings.
Awesome.
Unbelievable, right? The one stat that I had, what was it? Yeah, Kings outshot the Flames 17-4 in the opening frame. At one point, they fired 9 shots at Dustin Wolf during one of the power plays that they had. Fantastic.
You
Yeah,
love
the
it.
defense was absolutely atrocious. They let Dustin Wolf out to dry. This game could have gotten very ugly, and the only reason why the Flames were able to win this one was simply because of Dustin Wolf. Some of the other notes that I kind of had here too, just really quickly, Ryan Huska after the game said they were really fast in the first period. It wasn't the group tonight. It was Dustin Wolf. So he alluded to the fact that it was Wolf. So it felt like he said they were chasing the whole game, which is exactly what it was.
Yeah, they were.
And they were, to be frank, right?
Yeah.
Luckily though, second period, Coronado, they built in a little bit of pressure there halfway through the second. Coronado gets a great feed in front. He wires a top corner on former Flame David Riddick. Flames tied it at 1. The power play they got in the third, controversial a little bit, but Huberdeau with a
You
nice little
take him
wrap.
any way you can, though.
Well, exactly.
Like honestly.
Nice little wraparound play for Huberdeau as
Yeah.
he slotted it in, and I thought it wasn't going to be enough, but lo and behold, it was. As the Kings kind of blew it at the end there with 2 minutes to go, they put themselves in the box, and any sort of comeback was kind of halted at that point. So, 18 shots on goal. Didn't win a lot of faceoffs because of Anze Kopitar. He was like 9 for 12 that night. He was sensational. Flames managed to finally do well on the penalty kill. Everything about this game said the Kings should have walloped them. But lo and behold, it was a Dustin Wolf performance to remember as the Flames win it 2-1 in regulation time. Neil, takeaways from Saturday's game.
I think what's funny is that they have the same amount of penalty minutes as shots on goal for the Flames. That's really funny. I mean, this was simply a game where you can't point at it and say it was a grinded out, like collective team effort. It was more Matt Coronado and Dustin Wolf were the only ones that really showed up. I know Huberto had the power play goal that ended up being the game winner, but like I think this was just Coronado and Dustin Wolf, which look, you're gonna need games like this if you're gonna get into the playoffs. Because at this point in the year, being mid-January, however you get points is how you get points. I mean, obviously you want to get two as much as possible. It gives you the higher chance. But even if you come out of these games and still get a point anyway, it just makes it better. It just puts you in a better position. But yeah, I mean, they got totally 1000% dominated from start to finish in this one. And it was one of those games where the team who ended up dominating just ran into a goaltender that was on a good night. I mean, that's simply what it was. Dustin
That's
Wolf
an understatement.
Yeah, Dustin Wolf was certainly ready to go in this one, made several phenomenal saves. I think there was that one diving glove save he made, or he went right to left and he
Did the
made it.
split.
Ironically, that same night, Jacob Markstrom made the literal exact same save in the Devils game. I don't know if that's a Flames thing or not. I just think it was ironic that it happened that way. But yeah, no, I mean, Dustin Wolf was great. Dustin Wolf was tremendous in this game, and he deserves all the praise in that one. And look, we talked about it. Obviously, with them having a couple of extra days off because they didn't play that game in Los Angeles and they had some more time to go back home, I think it was fair to say that Dustin Wolf was going to get the start in this one. And I mean, again, good move by, the Flames to do that. And he was tremendous to say the least. But again, the biggest thing for me is the power play is still an issue. They did get one, which proved to be the most important goal of the night. But yeah, 18 penalty minutes is not something that I want to see on any given night. I will say this. Other than face-off percentage and shots on goal, this game was pretty even in terms of the stat. Think about it, right? 20 minutes to 18 penalty minutes, LA. Hits were 20 to 10, Calgary. Block shots were pretty close to one another. Giveaways were almost identical, and the takeaways were the same. So, like, in that regard, it was an even game, but shots on goal and getting pucks on net was the difference. And Dustin Wolf, he was ready to go. And honestly, I think he deserves the night off today.
Well, it's funny because he actually gets the start tonight in Chicago. It's been confirmed that he is starting tonight. Yeah, like stats wise, yeah, it's okay. Stats wise, like it looks pretty even. Face-off percentage like is funny because Anze Kopitar, again, he was like 9 for 12 on the night, or 9 for 13, and like he dominated on the face-off draw, which he's done for the last however many years he's been in LA, right? For the last 20 years or whatever. So yeah, like that to me wasn't really a surprise. Take Kopitar out of it, maybe it's a little bit more even, but he's a guy that just generally wins face-off draws. That's all he does, right? And he continues to do it on a very efficient basis. This is probably one the Kings are going to bookmark for the next time when they face each other in LA for that postponed game that they had on Wednesday, because this is they're probably pissed off that they didn't win this game, let alone make it to overtime, because the only reason that Calgary won it was just because of Wolf. I think everybody's been saying it, and blah blah blah. The big question that I have is, if you stuck Vladar in net on Saturday, are you getting the same outcome?
No. Well, I mean, okay.
No way you're getting the same outcome.
No, I don't think you're getting the same exact outcome. But again, this again, this is more of a situation, in my opinion, a combination of Dustin Wolf is the number one guy, but also he just happened to have a tremendous night, which any goaltender can have on any given night.
Yeah.
But I would say from like this type of overall performance, I don't think you're going to get it the same as if Ladar was in net. I agree.
I think like going forward, it's as simple as this, right? The only way this team stays in the playoff hunt is if that guy's in net,
Hmm.
right? And I think you have to be selective going forward when you're looking at the schedule, and it's too far ahead. You have to go week by week, and of
Right.
course, health
Sure.
wise of each goalie, and there's going to be
Hmm.
those nights, and I get it, right? And you
Hmm.
don't know what's happening inside the locker room,
Hmm.
but when they eventually play they're playing Buffalo coming up. I expect Vladar to start that game, right?
Yeah.
When they play LA again, I expect Wolf to start that game. When you're playing Chicago tonight, you know, okay, yeah, fair. You want to keep the hot hand going, and I get it, but you want to keep him healthy for games that are of the utmost importance going forward, right? They
Sure.
have coming up a back to back against the St. Louis Blues in St. Louis, who are right on their tail,
Yep.
right? Mind
Yep.
you, the Flames have a lot of games in hand. That's here nor there,
Hmm.
but still you want to make sure you're important. So it's like you're really going to go into that type of game with like Vladar is going to start one of the games. Okay, fair enough. Um, and maybe that's the approach that they kind of have with it.
Hmm.
But they have to be very selective going forward. That Wolf has to probably start a majority, a good chunk of these games going forward if they
Yeah.
want to stay in this hunt. Because it's not that I don't trust Vladar in net. He's your average, good, decent backup goaltender. But we said it in the last episode, like he's if that didn't prove it on Saturday, I don't know what will. That he's
Yeah.
the guy going forward.
I think that's exactly what it proved. I think it proved that, for like the 1000th time in the last couple of weeks that like Wolf is the number one guy. And I think even I think if you were to ask Ladar, honestly, I think he probably would agree. But again, I've said before that I think the Flames are in a really interesting position where I think you have two fairly reliable goaltenders. Like again,
Mhm.
Vladar is exactly what you expect out of him to be a solid, reliable backup goaltender. But he's not a guy that you can throw out there every other night to be that main guy. I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people would have said that the roles would have been reversed, where we'd see a lot more of Vladar and maybe Dustin Wolf is like the 1B, but it's obviously changed with the way that Dustin Wolf has played up until this point.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I don't fully agree with starting Wolf tonight. I think for Vladar, this is a good game for him to obviously get into and win. I think it's a winnable game considering where the Blackhawks are. Um, but again, like you mentioned, riding the hot hand is something that also plays a factor into these decisions. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I mean, if we end up winning this game, that's good. We're just racking up points right now in mid January, and especially on the road, which is something that has been needed of late, just to try to get more wins on the road, just for the importance. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if it pays off tonight.
I can see on both sides though, and we've talked about this before, where like okay, you can start him tonight, and like that's going to give you the best chance to win, right?
Right.
And you want to try to take these points from Chicago tonight, right? Like that's
You do.
just it, and I can understand it. It makes sense. I just don't feel great about it just because like he got a workload on Saturday and then you're throwing him right back in on Monday.
Sure.
I, I don't I don't love it. I understand it,
Hmm.
but I don't love it, right? And again, I
Right.
can see both sides of it. That's why it's like such a difficult conversation. But I
Hmm.
think what's going to eventually happen come February, maybe after the Four Nations tournament, depending where this team is, probably still in the hunt,
Probably. Yeah.
wherever it may be, right? In the hunt somewhere. At some point, you know, after the Four Nations, Wolf's probably going to get almost like Vladar might see a game in the next like one game in five. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the type of things that we need to see because if
Yeah.
they're really true about trying to get in, right? That's just what's going to happen because
Hmm.
this team's still struggling to score. It's evident. They're still
Right.
struggling on the power play. They had a great penalty kill on Saturday, which was good.
Yeah. Kill
Outside
was
of
very good. Yes.
Kill was good. 5-on-5 defensively was just atrocious, right?
Hmm.
So even Huska mentioned it. Like, we were chasing the whole game. We were frankly lucky to get out of here with 2 points and in a regulation win, right? Like,
Right.
they were lucky to get away with that. So,
Mhm.
man,
Especially to a team that you're chasing in the standings. Yeah.
oh yeah, for sure. But again, it's huge, right? Because now you're closing in the gap a little bit, and you
Right.
ended the Kings' win streak. So who knows what can happen? I don't know, right? We don't know, right? We'll see how it goes, but I think we're gonna see it maybe even now that Wolf's gonna get a great chunk of these starts between now and early April. We'll see where they're
Mhm.
at, but um,
Mhm.
yeah, still a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. Coronado, I think, gets his 10th of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
That was his
Um,
10th of the year, and then he got his 12th assist
yeah.
on the Huberdeau goal. So he's actually had like overall a pretty solid year to say the least.
Well, ever since he got sent down, right, and he comes back, Huska made the point before the game. I remember watching the clip where he talked about Coronado getting sent down earlier in the year, and Coronado
Mhm.
just you can look at it as a demotion, or you can look at it in a different light. And instead of Coronado, he remembered Coronado saying, okay, well, he got sent down, and that night the Wranglers were playing, right? He wasn't
Right.
playing that night because he just got sent down. But instead of going home, he went to the arena. He went and watched the game, right? Like
Right.
that's the difference a little bit with some of these guys, right? And sometimes like that's the commitment level that you have to see, right?
Mhm.
So ever since then, like he's proven that he's an NHLer. He proves that he belongs on this level. He proves that he's going to be valuable for this team long term, hopefully. Um,
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. And my last point really on this game is you mentioned Huberdeau. Um, Scoring on the power play and him not being there, you know, he's going to surpass his goals or excuse me, scoring title or whatever that he's had back in Florida, like in his career, excuse me, right?
Yeah.
After fumbling all that. So the one question they brought up on the after hour show, I was kind of listening on Barn Burner, and they were talking about it was the former Into the Dome guys. Hope those guys are doing well, by the way.
Mhm.
And it kind of brought up an interesting debate where now does it make Huberto more tradable moving forward? I don't know if the problem is like, okay, he can get his goal total in his career, like, he can get it
Mhm.
to a great, exceed it, right? Is what I'm trying
Right.
to say. I don't know if it makes it more attractive. You know what I mean?
The contract is always going to be the issue
It always
because,
will be.
like, put it this way: let's say in a different universe he was on the last year of a deal. He
Mhm.
would be a lot more attractive to people
Right.
because of just the fact that he has 18 goals. He's probably going to surpass 30 this year. And this is with a team that, not trying to say this in a negative light, but like lacks top 6 talent. Let's put it
100%.
out.
No,
Put it
I'm not
put it
sugarcoating it.
nicely.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
put it nicely. Um a lot of those competing teams, like who are contending, I'm not saying that. Okay, again, I'm not saying the Flames are not competing for a playoff spot. What I'm trying to say is like
They're overachieving though this
they're
year.
overachieving
Yeah.
based off of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But if like let's say like I don't know, uh, you know, what's a good example? Let's say Winnipeg calls, right? Like or Winnipeg's looking for like top 6 scoring or whatever. Like that would be a place where you could say like, oh, maybe if Huberdeau plays with another guy that can also, at talent wise is better, I think that you could say like, oh, this, you could definitely see a deal being made. But the thing is like the contract is going to be that issue. And if he does get moved, it's an off-season thing because these teams would need more time to sit down and talk about this in terms of like, is somebody going to take on his contract fully or if not? Like, I,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't see Huberto's value increasing based off of what we're seeing right now. I think it's maybe it's a little bit better, but again, that contract's always going to be the first thing you're gonna bring up when in terms of that
Yeah.
of those negotiations. So
I'm looking it up because he signed this back in what was this? August of 2022.
right.
Okay. So he's currently in the second year of his
Mhm.
8-year deal. Okay. Um he's, by the way, 29 years old, right?
Yep.
Which is concerning because the
Very
older that you
different.
get, like, the older that you get, you don't know if you're going to get the same production out of him, right?
Sure.
If they're gonna like, if the plan like is still 2 years from now, they're gonna have the new arena built, and that's when they want to contend, right? I
Mhm.
think at some point, like he's not like I think we can all agree he's not going to survive this 8-year deal. There's just no way.
No,
No, I agree with that. I don't think he survives this deal.
I don't think so either. No.
I'd be curious to see in year 5 where we're at, right? Because I understand that Brad kind of ducked us on this one here. I'm curious to see like if it like look at it this way. Look at the Wild, right? And what they had to do in order to get rid of Ryan Suter, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I'm
Suter and
forgetting one
Zach
other,
Parise's contracts.
and
Yep.
Parise's contracts,
Yeah.
correct? You know, if that's going to be the case, if they can just get to year like year 5 even. If they can get to
Yeah.
the end of year 5 and you have to eat that for 3 years, it's tough, man. It's tough, and you're
It's
going to
not a
like
good look.
it's not a great look, man. And like
No.
you're going to have to give up an asset if you're going to have to find a way to
Oh
get rid
yeah,
of him.
100%.
That's just the only way you're going to do it, right? Um,
Right.
because I think everybody still finds it like even though he's having his best year so far in his career, which is crazy, people are still kind of talking about this, and it was alluded to again after the game on Saturday. So it's a tough one, man, and one that you really can't have a conversation about until year 5 of this contract.
And that's the thing, I think that I think it's very fair to say that, Huberdeau is going to be in Calgary for quite some time. And that's mainly because of that contract. Like and I feel bad for the Flames management now because they obviously were not the ones who gave. If I have correctly, I think Brad Tree
It's free
Living
living.
signed him to
Yeah.
that deal. Yeah, it puts them in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to have. It'll be interesting to see what type of conversation they have with Huberdeau at season's end. And again, it's going to be based on things like where he ends up at the end of the regular season. Where do the Flames end up? Do they make the playoffs? Do they not? These are questions that are not going to be really answered until
Yeah.
2 or 3 months down the road right now. But yeah, no, I just think that it's gonna it's it, as
There's
long as
gonna
he,
have to look, there's gonna have to be a
mm,
real honest conversation
yeah,
in year 5 of his deal, let's say.
right,
Right? Like,
yeah,
how important to him how badly do you want to win? Right?
mm,
You know, and Conroy, like, he's gonna say, like, look, dude, I didn't sign you this deal, right? And you want to take the money and go with this, nobody's gonna argue with that, right?
yeah,
Nobody would, right? By the end of
no,
this, Huberto's not going to care because he's going to make the money at the end of the day, right? But that's all he's going to make, right?
right,
That's all that, unfortunately, if this is the way that it's still going to go,
mhm,
that's going to be his career, man. Is that he took an amazing deal by Tree Living that clearly overvalued him as a player,
yeah.
right? And do you think it's overvalued by too much? Like, where's the cutoff?
I think. Look, I mean, how much is he making per year now? What
Ten
is
and a
it?
half.
10 and a half? I think the cutoff point should have been like 5 or 6. Honestly, that's my per year. Because, all right, let's put it. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Maybe it's not the best example, but I'll give you an example contract wise. So so the Devils signed Andre Palat a couple of years ago to a 6-year deal, and he's making roughly, or no, 5-year deal, making about 6 million a year. To me, quite frankly, it's an overpay, but I also understood why they did it
Mhm.
because he has that Stanley Cup pedigree and he can produce at a certain level. He's actually been playing really well of late over the last
It's understandable
month.
why they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. But also you say if hindsight is 2020, the value of that is probably not at 6 million a year. So when I look at Jonathan Huberdeau, what I look at this contract is it's simply this. Brad Tree Living was trying to cover his rear end because of the because of how things have gone so far with Florida having Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
They've won a Stanley Cup. It's a marquee player. It's worked out really well for Florida.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he wanted to kind of make a statement that like they believe in what Jonathan Huberdeau's capabilities are. I don't see another team giving him $10.5 million per year for the type of player that he is. That's not a knock on. I mean, yeah, you could say that's a knock on Huberdeau, but it's not a personal attack either. Like, again, I don't blame him for taking $10.5 million per year. Anybody would do that.
Mhm.
Anybody would do that. But going back to what you were saying before, how much now at this point, how much does winning matter to Jonathan Huberdeau? Because if it does matter to him a lot, if he wants to win, you're going to have to make sacrifices.
A
You're going to
readjustment.
have to.
Yeah.
And that's
Even if
simply
it's
what it
like,
is.
bro, even if it's we're literally talking like $2 million per year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if you can get it down to 8, I
8,
could live with
which is
that.
much more of a typical
That's
like
fine.
big
I'll live
money
with
deal
that.
that we've seen in the NHL. Yes.
Exactly. And I really think like he has to have that conversation at least. And it's not one to like upset him and say like, look, yeah, you are playing a really good year, but it's like you're still not like, look at the other guys that are making 10 and a half, 11 and $12 million, right? Like they're world beaters, right?
You're not at that level.
You're not, right?
You're like second
Time
tier at best.
and the only time that he is, right, in the 1 year that he had 110 points, look who he was lined up with. He was lined up with Carter Verhaeghe and he was lined up with Barkov, right? That's just who, but like, again, that's just who he is. And
Yep.
I've said it before, and we'll move on after this.
Yeah.
But I've said it before, like, if you line him up with 2 pure goal scorers, right, and he is the quote unquote quarterback for the line, right,
Mhm.
then it changes it completely, right? And I think it's going to take a little bit of time because management's looking at it going like, we can get him back to that level, right? We
Mhm.
just need to find guys who are pure goal scorers with him, not a Nazem Kadri and not a Pospisil beside him, right?
Right.
It also then brings up the question of, you know, I understand Kadri signed here long term, but you got to make sacrifices to find some goal scoring, right? You got to find
Mhm.
goals at some point. So anyway, long conversation about it, but still proud of the way that he's been playing this year. You know, he is actually has more points than one Elias Pettersson, which is
Yep.
a nice way to look at it. And I give him full credit. He's been having a good year, and I don't want to knock him too much because not a lot of other people are doing well on this team. And he's been the one, like, the only reason, again, why the Flames are still in this are because of Dustin Wolf, how decently well this defense has been playing, and frankly, Huberdeau, Kadri, Coronado, and Zari's production.
Mhm.
That's just the way that the season has gone, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll cut it off there. We'll do a quick ad read. We'll get set for tonight. One more debate before we go, and then a quick milestone, little nod of the cap also I have as well. So we'll do that, and we'll come right back. Have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings yet? Probably not. What are you waiting for then? You better get on it. The playoffs are here, and its time is running out. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL and the NHL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. You play for better payouts on Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. Select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, shots on goal, shots blocked, and more. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. And DraftKings is making it even sweeter for first timers. New Pick 6 customers get $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. You can win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. Let's go THPN for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. All right, let's quickly look at tonight before we get into another little debate that I had. Derek Willis, who is in Calgary, in
Chicago.
Chicago. I'm really dreading this trip tonight down to Toronto, and I'm like fumbling everything possible.
He's not even thinking about
Honestly,
it.
not even thinking about tonight. I'm just dreading this trip that we have tonight.
Yep.
But yeah, so he's got the lineups for tonight,
Which road trip
and
is worse, the
this one,
Flames road trip or Kyle's road trip to
this one.
Toronto?
Yeah, this one by far. It's not even
Yeah.
close.
Mhm.
Not even close. So Yeah, we got a game tonight. As we said, it's on Prime Hockey tonight. Yay! And they
Yay!
in Chicago to take on the lowly Blackhawks. So let's take a quick look at the lineups tonight. And
I
it
did see
looks
this.
like instead of Saturday, Rory Kieran's, he's going to get the start tonight. He's going to have his season
Sick.
debut tonight, playing on alongside Sharon Govich and Jacob Peltier. Coronado back with Backlund Coleman. Same line with Huberto, Kadri, and Pospisil. Rooney there with Lomberg. Walker Duehr, who did take a bit of a hit on Saturday.
Hmm.
Lomberg backed him up. Went off the ice a little. Didn't look great, but it looks like he's okay. He's going to be in tonight. Same defensive pairings as well, too. Ball Anderson, Hanley, Uyghur, Bean, and Pahal, and also Dustin Wolf, as we mentioned earlier, gets the start tonight. My only question for you here in this one, because it's fairly the same lineups here, is do you agree where they put the season debuter here in Rory Kieran's with Sharon Govich and Peltier?
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with it. Again, a lot of times when you don't have definitive lines and you're just trying to you're just trying to get a flow of things. Um, you're going to keep the lines where they are, especially if things are going well. So again, you look at the lines from last game; they were fairly again, it's fairly the same. I think Lomberg, Rooney, and Due is fine. So the question was, where are you gonna put Kieran's, and I think that just makes the most amount of sense. I like Sharon Govich playing more as a center than a wing, just because I think that he's actually doing better with regards to that. I mean, granted, nobody on this Flames team is really that good at faceoffs.
Yeah.
But we're you got to take the good with the bad. So yeah, no, I like it. I like it because you know what it is I don't really want to separate that fourth line. And that's like the only other place, in my opinion, that I could see him playing. So I like it where it's at. I don't really have an issue with it. Defensive pairings are about as fine as they could be. And again, not 100% down with Dustin Wolf starting tonight, as we mentioned before. But again, it's fine. You want to win these games. You want to gain those points. You want to get the momentum on your side. So I get it. So yeah, fair enough. I think it's
The reasoning I can understand maybe why they got Wolf tonight is because they do have that back to back with St. Louis.
well, it's not really a back to back. Oh, that's true. No,
Well, they're
I'm
in St.
thinking,
Louis twice,
and then
and
yeah, right. They have St. Louis tomorrow, and then St.
yeah,
Louis again on Thursday.
I think they go to St. Louis tomorrow. I think
Correct.
yeah. So I
Yep.
think it makes sense in terms of the timeline this week,
Sure.
because you will plot real. In that case, Vladar starts tomorrow night would make sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then with the back to back, you're gonna have Wolf probably start the next one.
Yep.
And they do play tomorrow night. And it is expected that Vladar will play. Thursday, we'll get everybody previewed for the Thursday night game. Wolf expected to start that one. And then they'll be playing Saturday. I thought it was Buffalo. It's not. They're going to be in Winnipeg on
Yeah. It's
Saturday.
Winnipeg, and then next week they'll start the week off against Buffalo.
Correct. Yes. So that's a little far ahead, but that's just kind of how it looks. One name who led the team in stretches today, who's not on this list. Who was it?
Oh, I saw it before. I saw it before.
You can do it.
Was it, ah, it wasn't Zari, right?
No, who's the one guy we've been talking about most of the year? There's one guy we've been talking
I
about.
feel bad that I'm blanking. I'm
No, it's
blanking on
okay. It happens. It's
no,
Monday.
Kyle, I'm actually blanking on it. Who?
Andrei Kuzmenko.
Ah, right. Because Derek Willis said number 86, and I'm thinking like, who the I actually said in my brain, I'm like,
Yep.
86. And stupid me thought that was Kieran's number.
Yeah.
Stupid man. Shows you how much I pay attention to this team.
I
But
briefly watched because they had Kuzmenko in the lineup on Saturday, and he's now being replaced with the season debuter of Rory Kieran's.
Wolf.
I didn't mind his game Saturday. He was very active. He was finishing his
Yeah.
checks. He was trying to be creative a little bit. The effort's there. I don't think we're just getting the results yet. And, it'll come in time, right? You just have to keep this up and you just have to see where it leads to. But, I guess they just want to see what this Rory kid can do. And I like it in a game tonight against Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, I would counteract what you're saying about Kuzmenko, and that it's like we're also in mid-January,
I know.
and it's
That's the
like how
problem.
much longer can anyone be like, you got to give him time? Well, like when does the clock strike midnight? kind of thing.
The deadline is when the clock strikes
Well,
midnight.
that's the thing. And
Yeah.
even at that point, what is his value? I'd say very little. I'd honestly,
It's
like,
you can get
unless,
something out of it.
I guess you could only think like some team may look at him as like depth scoring, but even then, you're not getting it.
Would you rather lose him for free or
I'd rather
get a
get something for him, of course. That's
sure.
that's me.
Pro
But
and then the issue is you want to trade him to a contender, then it's like, all right, the value might go up a little bit because if he pops off for some reason, we're gonna look stupid.
I mean, that's gonna happen. It's how the deadline goes sometimes, unfortunately.
Maybe Conroy sells him. Who knows?
Maybe.
We'll have to see. You never know. That's the lineups for tonight. So we'll have tonight. We have tomorrow in St. Louis. We'll get everybody set for Thursday as they take on St. Louis again. We'll recap what happened, obviously, tonight and Tuesday. Predictions tonight, real quick, before we move on.
I'm gonna go with 3-1 Flames. I think they'll play better than they did last, against LA.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that Kieran's gets a point tonight.
I was just gonna say that. I think he gets on the board tonight.
I think he gets a secondary assist. I think it's one of those things where like
Yeah.
what'll happen is he'll try to dump it in or he'll make a pass to somebody.
Yeah.
And then he'll set up for a goal and then they'll realize in the moment, like, oh, that's Kieran's first point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would like stand out to me. I guess like I'll put it this way. I think the Flames give up the first goal and then they win 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, I think I 100% they give up the first goal tonight.
100%.
That's a given. That's a given.
Now,
I think they
who I have scoring the first goal, I'm gonna guess Taylor Hall is my best guess.
Hall. Frank Nazar, I think, is playing, right? He's still playing for Chicago.
Who?
No, Frank Nazar? Nazar? Is that
he's still playing.
Yeah, I think they've been talking about him a lot recently. I'll go with Frank.
I know that Taylor Hall's been getting a lot of word around him about him getting traded. Second or third round pick is kind of crazy considering where he was a few years ago, but the injuries have just
piled up.
But he looks good recently. I will say that he's actually looked pretty good.
Be interesting to see where he lands because he's
going to get a lot of suitors. I think at the deadline, I think he'll get a lot of suitors.
They'll like him for sure.
And you know what? Like it sucks that like Pat Maroon's contract is so bad because I think it's like $5 million. I think it was something ridiculous. Because I think he would also be a guy that I could see getting moved.
Right.
If his contract wasn't that bad, but
you're right though. There's gonna be so many suitors, right?
You ever wonder if like the Flames would move Vladar to like Chicago? They have like no goaltending whatsoever.
Yeah, but I think a contender would want him more, and I think Chicago knows where they're at. Like, you know what I mean? They're just gonna
they're just like it's
can't get reliable goaltending.
They're really trying to tank again.
Yeah, but why? Like
I don't even think they're trying to. Actually, I really don't think they're even trying. I think they really are just that bad.
The acquisitions that they made, man,
they're going to be so wrong, and we're going to lose like 5-1.
Well, oh yeah, for sure. That's how it always goes. I got Flames winning a close one. I actually think they score 4 tonight, but I think it'll be like a 4-3 game.
So you expect Wolf to have more of a struggle tonight?
A little bit. Wouldn't surprise me. I think this is just it's a tough one tonight just because they always struggle against bad teams. So
I think one of the 3 goals are going to be a power play goal too, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we're going to score another power
play goal. It would
goal.
make a lot of sense. But yeah, okay, fair enough. We'll see what happens tonight. I'm so excited for the deadline too coming up. Trade deadline. It's always a good time of year.
Yeah, but like every year it gets hyped up and then nothing happens. That's the other issue.
Yeah, but I liked last year where we went live on THPN and
last year was good. Last year we had a lot of top guys get moved. So there was that.
I just kind of enjoy it, like just because some of the guys come in and you get to look at it. Oh, and then here comes the next one down the pipeline, whatever it may be, big or small, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The small ones are the ones that you can really dissect because then you try to think about it, like
for sure.
You try to think about like, all right, why was this move made? Then you're like,
oh yeah,
bottom 6 trades
exactly
are the best because then you can really start to figure out if a team's just doing it for like depth reasons. Like if a top guy, like who's like the top guy this year that's like available?
Elias Pettersson, who's on
Pettersson,
and JT Miller, if you want to put it up there too.
Sure, like wherever they get moved to, if they get moved, you can kind of figure out like where they're going to be in terms of the lineup and like production. But it's like somebody like a Jake Evans, like where does he go? What's his fit? in terms of like his role.
You know
Be
where
more
he go. You know where he's gonna go. I'm gonna call it right now, Jake Evans, right? Because there's anybody can take a guy
You
like
say
him, right?
Vegas, I'm gonna
Nope.
leave.
No,
Okay,
I think
sick.
you know where he looks like he could fit in really well.
Where?
Dallas.
Yeah, yeah.
I just picture like
Well,
that
Dallas needs
jersey.
depth. Dallas is. I think they get Taylor Hall personally.
Fair.
That's
I
my
think they get
thinking.
Evans too, though.
But also I know the Blackhawks obviously are not great. We know that, but like, would they trade within their division? I don't know.
It's been done before.
No, I know it's been done,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious to know, like, is it something that
If they did, it'd be a high value. Like
they?
it'd be more higher value,
Well,
right? And
yeah,
same thing
yeah.
for the Flames, right? If they want to trade within the division, they want to give Kuzmenko to Vegas. It might, maybe that's where you get value from.
Trade him to Vancouver, send him back.
Can you imagine?
That'd be so funny. And
All
it's
right,
like
we
you see that
gotta
Thanos meme. It's like you cannot live with your own failure, and where did it lead you? Right back to
right
me.
back. Yeah, that would definitely come up.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on. Let's wrap this one up here because I did want to bring this up. It was a good, very well published here by Robert Munich here. Quickly talking about Kevin Rooney here.
Look at
I
that.
wanted to,
Look at that.
so I wanted to bring this up.
I think Steph's really going to be happy that we're talking about Kevin
Well,
Rooney at
that's
length.
why I wanted to actually bring this up because
Yeah.
I saw her comment and the biggest thing that I want, and this is not a knock at her at all. She's awesome that we had on, right? And I get
Yeah.
it. And her connection with
I
Kevin
think she's
Rooney and
doing.
that,
I think she's co-hosting now on Locked On Flames. I
I
think, or
think she
she's been
is.
on there.
And
Yeah.
great and
Good for her.
fantastic, right? Good for her. The emotions in what she said, like, are just kind of getting in the way.
Uh huh.
And again, I'm not trying to be rude here,
Huh.
but the stats are the stats here. And frankly, from what we've seen, Kevin Rooney has frankly been on the penalty kill for the last little bit here.
Yeah.
Hasn't looked great, right? And you want to talk about like he did have a good start to the year, fair,
Sure.
but it has dipped. The faceoff percentage has dipped, especially more or less looking at him on the penalty kill, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
it it's difficult because he is a very light guy, respectable guy to have in. He does well on the penalty kill. Because the penalty kill has been bad recently, maybe not excluding Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to see this guy in the lineup going forward, especially with some of these younger guys starting to come up and possibly replacing him.
Right.
So I didn't love, and I won't bring it up. I didn't love what Steph was saying just because, and I get defending him. I understand it. I just thought the emotions were just kind of getting in the way a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because, these kind of stats don't necessarily lie, right? And, I'm just trying to be frank here, right? Like at some point, you're not going to see Rooney with this team anymore. And, part of the reason, you're taking jabs at, the obvious things like them not scoring in front of him and all these other things. And sometimes you get bad goaltending. But, at the end of the day, like you do get a fairly big report on what's happened up to date. And this is
Sure.
just frankly where we're at, right? So is it one of the biggest reasons why the team has lost some games this year that we scratch our heads about? No, of course not. There's lots
No.
of different reasons for this team. Is it helping? No,
No.
not at all.
Two things can be true, Kyle. Two
Yeah,
things can very well be true. I think, like, okay, as somebody who obviously saw Kevin Rooney play a decent, a good amount in person when he was in New Jersey. I mean, if I'm being very frank, this is what you're going to get from a guy like him. And that's, is that unfair to say? You could make an argument for that, but like, yeah, it's one of those things where I think I would rather personally see maybe another young guy get called up to play that fourth line center role. Can't think off the top of my head who would be that guy.
yeah.
But it just, I agree. I agree with what Robert is saying. Like, it, nothing there is productive at all.
And for
None of
those you
it.
want, and sorry for those of you wondering, like because if you can't see and you're listening to this, they're
Mhm.
showing Kevin Rooney's stats on his shot percentage, his face-off percentage, all face-off percentage below 50%. He ranks dead last among Flames forwards in every key shot
I was
metric
actually going to
since
ask, was
December
this by
1st.
Flames forwards or in the NHL? Because if this is the NHL,
This
then
is
this is just
Flames
really bad.
forwards. This is Flames
Okay.
forwards.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. There we go. All right.
Uh,
Cool.
Again, face-off percentage below 50%, and he ranks
Gotcha.
dead last among Flames forwards in every key
Gotcha.
shot metric since December 1st.
Mhm.
So, and
Yep.
you need the shots. That's the one thing, and it's like you want to put it on some of the guys up front who have been scoring. Okay, fair, but at the same time, this isn't helping, right?
No,
And would
it's
you
not.
like, and that's
It's
what I
not
mean. Like,
helping. No, you're absolutely right, Kyle. Like it's just it to
we
put
can't
it
beat
in
around the
simple
bush,
terms.
right?
Right.
I don't want to beat
You
around the bush.
simple terms. It's not working. It
No.
just straight up is not working. And maybe things would change if the Flames were in a different position than they are right now. Um, but that's
Yeah.
about as best as I'm going to give you. Like again, like I don't like it, and I
I'd
think
like
that
to
there could
change,
be other
and
options that could be better.
yeah, I'd like to change up the penalty kill, you know, because if you find a way to get him out of the lineup, and if this Rory kid comes in and he's shining bright, you know, then decisions will need to be made. And I think Kevin Rooney might be the odd man out, right? Um, he met Robert Below mentioned Walker Dewar as well too earlier on as well with Rooney. I actually think Dewar's been fine. He's brought a little bit of energy, a little bit of pop, and I like him playing with Lomberg. So you know,
Sure,
even if at like even at the deadline, right? Even if you have to make a small move, that's not going to
mm,
cost you, right? I think that can be changed, right? You
yeah,
can maybe go out there and look for a bottom six penalty killer. Maybe go look out there for a
yeah.
bottom six guy who takes a lot of shots and is, you know what I mean? And
What
it's
about like
not going to
Nico
cost you a
Sturm
lot.
from San Jose?
That name has actually been brought up, and I wouldn't hate that, right?
He's a really good face-off guy. That's
Yeah.
so
So that name's been brought up, and I like to think that that's possibly something that this team could do. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's a move that Conroy makes because it's still fluid top four, but there's still certain areas where you know you can improve on. And this is something that can be easily fixed, and it's
sure.
not going to cost, excuse me, a lot.
And it brings up that thing, those reportings that we were hearing early in the year when they were looking for, center depth and
Yeah,
center help. Nico Sturm, I think, fits that bill. Because look, the Sharks are not gonna make the playoffs or anything like that. So
for sure.
it's just, but also I think Nico Sturm could be a guy that also gets a lot of teams interested. Who knows? But like
You got it.
that's an example of what we're talking about with like there are other options that I out there that I think could be better than
Yeah.
what we're getting out of Kevin Rooney.
You got it. Really quick to wrap up. I noticed you brought up the quarter century team.
I was
Uh,
surprised that you weren't going to bring it up. I was like,
totally forgot.
yeah,
Totally
no,
forgot.
I was like, this is a pretty significant thing.
It
I
is a
would
significant thing.
imagine.
The other actually milestone I'll just very quickly
Yeah,
mention,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I had it written down. Congratulations to Eric Stahl, who's number 12, getting hung up in the
Yes,
Hurricanes rafters. So that was really cool to see. But
and then they lost.
and then they lost. But yes, the
Ooh,
quarter century team was
by the
brought
way,
up.
the fact that Cutter Gauthier decided to wait till the game after to do something significant is nothing short of hilarious to
It's
me.
funny.
Because I was
It's
like, oh,
super
so
funny.
now you want to do that? Like
Yeah.
it was just, oh, and that
Thanks,
that was
man.
a that was such a funny game to
It
like
was.
see. Oh, so funny.
All right.
Just so
Last thing to wrap up. Yeah, quarter century team.
yeah. So we
You know,
got
you had Gaudreau. I'll let you go through it if you want.
yeah. So obviously you got Johnny Gaudreau, Jerome McGinley, Matthew Kachuk. I don't have any surprise there. Mark Giordano, Robin. I'm gonna say his last name wrong.
Robin Regier.
Regier. Yep, should have known that. And
That's okay.
Mika Kippersoft. Um, I have literally no complaints personally, unless you do.
No, I think it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, I like the Regier adding in him there.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I like that. And then you go down the second pair there. The
Yeah, and then
second
you go down to the second team, and you got Mikael Granlund, Craig Conroy, good on him.
Grantland.
Sean Monahan,
You said Mikael
uh,
Granlund. Backlund.
Mikael Granlund, sorry.
No, Backlund. Oh my god.
Oh my God, today. Get off.
Backlund. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Backlund.
Craig Conroy, Sean Monahan, Rasmus Anderson, Dion Phaneuf, and Jacob Markstrom.
Well, it makes sense, right? Their
No,
goaltending's been
I have one, and this may be a hot take, But I have one exception to that. I don't think
Okay.
Markstrom should be there.
Who should be there?
Mike Vernon.
Yeah, but it's quarter century, right?
I'm an idiot. Ignore me. Just ignore what I have said for the last 2 seconds. I'm tired.
Otherwise, I would
What
agree.
is
Like,
the
this is
point of this
quarter
quarter century? I don't
century.
get it. Like I'm not like it's
2000 to 2025.
wonderful.
There we
Oh,
go.
okay. What did
So, yeah,
Fine,
yes,
fine.
fair
I
enough.
still think it
Mike
sucks.
Vernon, fair, but, like, he's not a quarter
Okay, so
century
if this
here.
was the all like century, like if we're going
This
like
is
the
from
history,
2000 to
yeah. Okay,
2025.
so but if this was an all history team, I would put Mike Vernon over Jacob Markstrom. Personally, I may even put Mike Vernon over Miki Kiprusoff. I'm just saying, there's my hot take for everybody. You can
Very
cancel
hot
me at
take.
any time.
Very hot take. Kipper's
Yes.
number 1. Kipper's number 1 right now.
I
Yeah,
that's that was such an interesting final between him and
it
Javi
was.
Gullin.
It was. Yeah, no complaints. I
Yeah.
liked it. They had him on. They had Regier, Conroy, and Robson Anderson on Saturday on After Hours on Sportsnet, and yeah, they just kind of talked about how honored they felt, and they brought up the Martin
Ooh,
Gellin no goal from Game 6 back in 2004, and they brought up
oof.
Conroy, how Jerome McGinley was like grilling this guy every game, which is super funny, and now they're working
You think he
together.
grills him now? You think he grills him now?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, no
When
complaints.
are you gonna figure out that center depth, buddy?
I know, right? We'll get to it. We'll get there.
Yeah,
That's gonna wrap it up. Kyle's got to go in like literally half an
Kyle
hour.
has to go.
That'll wrap it up. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll recap the last 2 games. Thanks again, Neil, for jumping on last minute today.
Of
I
course.
know. And yeah, hope everybody has a good week, and we'll hopefully pray for me down in Toronto tonight. So that'll be fun. But yeah, thanks, and we'll chat again Thursday. Later, people.